right. Welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening, watching, however you're joining in. But today, want to get right into the show, which I normally do, but want to get into it. And a lot of times, the shows that I'm doing, especially these just myself, it's because of something that's happened in my life, good or bad, whatever it is. Whether it's myself, family, friends, conversation, whatever it is. Sometimes even as simple as like an Instagram post that I see. But today is, I've got young kids who are in youth sports, and it's youth sports has changed a lot, a lot, a lot. I mean, I was actually talking to my son's soccer coach. My son is 8, going to be 9, close to when this show is going to air. And our daughter's 12, but our son is daughter's in gymnastics. So she's not in a team. It is a team sport, but she gets, I guess, playing time, right? She gets opportunities just as much as anybody else. My son plays soccer and basketball, which is a team sport. So it's wild because even it's starting to become more, and it depends where you're at, but playing time is not equal at all, which is weird. And a little bit of this is venting. And my son has we've had good conversations. That's where this podcast has kind of come from. But what's really weird is youth sports is not what it used to be. I mean, he's in 3rd grade. When I was in 3rd grade, and granted, I know things change, right? Usually, hopefully for the better over time. In this situation, I think there's probably a happy medium that we haven't really found. But youth sports has gotten out of control. Our son who's in 3rd grade, he plays club soccer, and then he played travel basketball this last winter, which I've talked about. But travel soccer, 3rd grade, they are no longer. There's no equal playing time now. The coach does a pretty good job. He's had some kind of hiccups here with some other kids where they played maybe a fifth of the game. Other kids are playing the entire game. I don't agree with that. But him and I were having a conversation. He was telling me how, and again, he's coaching 8 and 9-year-olds. He is graded off, or he's evaluated by his record, which is crazy, right? And granted, I know this has a little bit to do with the podcast today. I have to get that off my chest a little bit too. 3rd graders, 8 and 9-year-olds. You've got these coaches that are being evaluated off their record, which is insane. It's crazy to me because what's going to happen is there's a lot of bad things that are going to happen. Probably some positives, but to me, the negatives outweigh the positives. One, you're going to have kids just so tired of the sport, whatever they're in, because it's a constant grind, right? Because you're basically teaching them that winning is the only thing that matters at this point. Now, again, our coach does a pretty good job of he sees the big picture. He's also getting pressure from the club, obviously, because he's being evaluated by his record, which is insane. I mean, I coached junior varsity basketball, so JV basketball for 4 years. The head coach, I had 2 different head coaches. They always told me, I'll never get fired based on my score. My job was to develop kids and let them have fun. And that's in high school. That's basically freshmen and sophomores for the most part. And here we are, 8 and 9-year-olds, 3rd graders, concerned about their record, which is insane to me. So a little venting here, but it does all tie in. So I was talked to my daughter too, both our kids, about competitive drive and all those things. And a lot of it is, while I'm talking to them, I'm doing some self-reflection too. Because I've noticed, and my guess is a lot of people can probably relate to this. I've probably, a lot of my drive, and it's changed over the years without a doubt, and it's morphing and it's shifting. I think that's just probably normal as you get older and have some more self-realization. But a lot of my drive came from proving people wrong. And I've talked about my story growing up playing basketball. Well, I did play college. I had to earn every little bit, every little second that I played. And literally, I played seconds. I didn't play that much. But that was definitely a chip on my shoulder from school not getting great grades, from sports not being the best, always being on the best team, but being like towards the bottom of the pack, it definitely, without a doubt, put a chip on my shoulder to prove people wrong. Um, and really, I think there's some positives to that, right? And it's pretty simple. Drive, passion, all those things can come out of that. Um, but at the same time, there's some negatives that can come out of that, right? And I'm seeing it. I've seen it with myself. I've seen it with other parents, with kids. Um, but just trying to prove people wrong. I think there's some, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some strengths and then some negatives about it. But I think some positives about it is obviously it can drive you. And actually, speaking on that, I had a conversation with and this is probably weekly that I have a conversation similar to this that I'm going to tell you about, if not a few times a week, with someone wanting to leave their 9 to 5, and they start talking to me and they're like, yeah, you know what? I've got a 9 to 5 and I do this and this and I enjoy it for the most part. Or they tell me, it's okay. I don't mind going to work. But I wouldn't mind financial freedom. And I've learned, and I couldn't tell you how many people I've talked to that have started off just like that. And I don't want to guarantee, but very close to 100% of those people have not left their 9 to 5, have not become financially free. And a lot of that is because they probably don't have that chip on their shoulder. And it doesn't have to be about sports, could be, or proving people wrong, could be something else. But every time someone says that to me, oh, I don't mind my job, or I like my job, but I just want to create some extra cash flow and be able to leave my 9 to 5 if I want to. Immediately, I stop them. I'm like, okay, every person I've talked to that says that, they don't leave their 9 to 5 because they don't have this big thing pushing them towards their goal, right? They're comfortable. It's kind of the golden handcuffs. They're comfortable. They're probably not going to leave their 9 to 5 and put whatever goal is in there. Leave 9 to 5. Maybe you've got 2 or 3 storage facilities, or other real estate or whatever it is, and you are financially free, but you've been stuck in this kind of second stage. There's a reason why, right? And this is where um, chips on the shoulders can be good, and just like anything can be good, can be bad, depending on how you use it. And something like this, trying to prove people wrong, it's probably not. This is my opinion on all this stuff. So don't. You got to go on your own journey. If you need help through it, find a psychologist, therapist, whatever. But this is my take on it. Just my opinion. But I think obviously you can use a chip on your shoulder, proving people wrong for a little bit, and I think at some point you have to kind of change that. And we're going to get into how I think you can kind of change it, or at least um, kind of tone it down a little bit, maybe. Um, but yeah, every time I have that conversation with people, it's like you don't have this big thing pushing you. And it's at any level that you're at, right? If you're trying to become financially free, if you're financially free, trying to get to the next step after that, complacency kind of steps in, right? Fills in, or it comes in, and you're like, you know what? I'm financially free. I'm comfortable. We've got a few thousand extra dollars a month, whatever it is. I'm comfortable. Um, which, if that's what you want to do and you're happy and you're fulfilled, go ahead and do that, right? To me, this is what I'm trying to portray, I guess, in this show is having a chip on your shoulder, trying to prove people wrong, whatever it is, can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. And I'm going to talk about how to kind of control that too. Um, but I do think you have to be happy and fulfilled at the same time, right? And a lot of times that can't happen. In fact, another reason why I want to talk on this. I was just listening to a Michael Phelps, who was I guess, basically the greatest Olympian ever, right? I think he had, don't quote me, but 28, I think, Olympic medals, and I think 23 of those were gold, both records, which is insane if you think about it. Um, but it was a 2-hour podcast. I listened to the entire thing. It's really interesting to kind of hear him talk, and a lot of things hit home too. And a lot of things kind of hit home was like, oh, that may not be a great thing, right? It was maybe a good thing to get to where you were. For him, it was probably a great thing to get there, to get those 28 medals, to get those 23 gold medals. But he couldn't, I mean, for the 2-hour interview, basically, it's summed up into he couldn't enjoy his wins. He didn't clearly didn't enjoy his losses. Even the, I guess, 5 medals that he got that weren't gold, he didn't count those, right? So second place is losing. That's basically the entire podcast. And he also talked about how he battles with depression, anxiety, and those type of things. And I think a lot of those things kind of go hand in hand, especially for someone like him that was such a high level just person, obviously athlete, but high level person, and was driving so hard that once that was shut off, he didn't know what to do with his life. And I can absolutely relate to that, and I'm guessing a lot of you can relate to that, right? You've been working so hard for something. I mean, I can relate that to even obviously sports, but even leave my 9 to 5. I had this huge thing that I was going after. Once I got it, I was comfortable. And I'm like, cool. I don't really have to push anymore. Um, and I can't say I was more fulfilled or more happy during that time either. I think I think each part of your journey is important, right? And whether it's ups, downs, you're gonna have that, but that's life, right? You're gonna have ups and downs. You're gonna, as I think, as long as you're, in my opinion, pushing yourself to try to be the best that you can be, and that's in all aspects, right? Not just how much money you can make or how to be the best, whatever soccer player, whatever it is. It's also how happy can you be, how fulfilled can you be, and then obviously share that with others. But that Michael Phelps interview was really interesting to me because he clearly has not slayed those demons, to where he is still very much about it's first place or nothing, right? And that's a hard spot to be. It's a good spot to be to get to a goal, but how can you kind of turn that off? And I'm gonna try to do my best to help to get there to some actionable steps. But I want to talk about a couple more negatives here with kind of having chip on your shoulder is obviously proving people wrong. It's kind of, and I talked about this before. It's kind of dark energy. It can get you going initially, right? And can kind of fuel you along a little bit, but then you need something after that. One that probably fulfills you and makes you happier after that. And we're going to get into that and what that is. You can't just continue to prove people wrong because one, it creates enemies, right? Two, it probably creates some type of anxiety. And actually, I looked this up. There's really no difference, or there can be no difference between drive and anxiety. Um, and I don't, I think that's something you've got to kind of figure out. But there, it can be a very, I guess, muddy water, right? It can be kind of unclear to if your drive is because of anxiety or vice versa, or just mixed in there. I know I kind of, I don't want to say battle with it, but I know I go through that, and there are days where I can't get out of it, can't snap out of it. There are days where I can. And saying all this, it almost sounds like I'm in a depressed state or something. That's not the case at all. And same with Michael Phelps, like his interview. It was, these are things going on in our head where it's like, if I'm having an off day, it's probably because I've got some type of anxiety from something that, um, who knows, maybe some type of drive that I'm trying to go after, something I'm chasing, and maybe I'm not able to work on it right now. And I know for me, if I'm not able to be productive in a way, if I don't feel like I'm moving forward, that's when those kind of thoughts start creeping in, and kind of just not myself. Um, so kind of getting off track a little bit there, but yeah, with needing a chip on your shoulder, you need enemies, right? That's not healthy. That's going to bleed over to relationships. That's going to bleed over to your spouse, your kids. You can't. You can maybe do it for a little bit, but you got to find ways to turn that off. Obviously, that can be projected on your kids if you got a chip on your shoulder. And I've been trying my best to to balance between with my kids, because obviously that's what I'm trying to do is, give them the best guidance I can and hopefully have them um, get a little bit further and faster than what myself and my wife did, right? To me, each generation should be getting better. So that's to me, that's the idea. But I try to have these conversations with them. I was trying to have a conversation with my son, like, you know what, this and this happened, okay, for a little bit while you're training, while you're getting better to work harder. You should be thinking like, yeah, I want to prove this person wrong. But then on the flip side is you can't hang on to that. Can't always want to prove people wrong. Um, you've got to kind of have I'm gonna get into it here. You've got to shift into something else after that. And we have those conversations. And again, none of this is perfect. I don't think. I don't know if anyone can say this is how you do something when it comes to these type of things. Drive, chip on your shoulder. You look at all the I don't want to say greats. Majority of ultra successful people in the world, and you don't have to go ultra. You can go semi-successful or people that you know in your circle that are successful, and you look at their background and you look at their drive. If I were to guess, and I've done this a lot the past few days, if I were to guess, there was a lot of trying to prove people wrong, right? Obviously, there's some people that really grab onto that and kind of strangle it and don't let it go. And there's some people that probably can let it go a little bit faster. Um, but I know, I mean, I can think of some relationships, friendships, whatever, that maybe, and not necessarily myself, but other people that I know that they've lost friendships because that person is, and I'm thinking of one particular, not my friend, fortunately, but this person was a high level D1 athlete, actually soccer, and they just create enemies kind of out of nowhere. They're almost like a trained warrior almost. They can't let other people, I don't even say win, but they've got to win at all times, right? If they're not winning, then they've got to end that friendship or that relationship with somebody. That's when it gets in the way. That's not a good thing, right? So I've kind of talked about negatives and positives. I don't want to keep blabbing here, but my opinion and a few things I kind of looked up on how to fix this is, and we can use, in fact, we can use after you get financially free. Because for myself, that was definitely a window, a time in my life, a year, 2 years, whatever it was, to where I definitely got comfortable. It was easier for me to get out of my 9 to 5, at least mental, well, in ways, than it was to once I became financially free to kind of go to the next step and past that. That there was a time frame there to where I was complacent without a doubt, and it was like, cool, I'm gonna just kind of chill. That was harder for me. But I think to get out of that is first thing is you've got to realize what's going on, self realization, right? You got to figure out like, okay, am I being complacent? And on the flip side, am I using that chip on my shoulder or competitive drive, whatever it is, too much? And is it getting in the way of other things, friendships, relationships, whatever it is, happiness, fulfillment? The next thing is set a target, right? So for myself, I didn't have, once I became financially free, it's like I hit that huge target. It was almost like, okay, I proved a lot of people wrong in my head, right? I didn't prove anybody wrong. But in my head, that was probably going on. Like, okay, I proved some people wrong. I am successful in a way, right? I am now, I don't, I don't know what else you kind of successful in a way, right? I felt like I had kind of done something, I guess. Because I had a goal of mine. That was a goal of mine. Um, but I think you have to figure out that target. You got to set a date, and once you hit that, then you've got to kind of drop it and move on to something else. And to tie all that in, and this is why I want to talk about for myself leaving my 9 to 5 after that, what the next step was once I became financially free, how to get out of that. Next thing was how do you help others? And that's a trained muscle because I think a lot of us are probably most of us are so used to it's just about ourselves, right? Me, 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 I, I need to do this so that I can have this or get this or whatever it is. Or I need to get this, I need to do this to become someone that I want to be, right? That doesn't have to be like someone else, but something that I want to be. I want to be like this person in the future. It's always all about us, right? But I think once you switch it and it's about others, I think that's where you can use a lot of this, whatever, chip on the shoulder for kind of good is when it's for others. And now you're not creating enemies. Now you're not creating, or you shouldn't be, um, creating maybe so much anxiety or anything related to that because it's about others. And that's more of probably a soft, um, how do I word that? Probably more of a soft commitment, maybe, to where it's not like dark energy to where you're trying to prove someone wrong. It's how many people can I help along the way. So an easy example is, excuse me, coached my, and I've talked about this. I've coached my son's third grade basketball team this past winter. Easy example was clearly my son was on the team. He was one of the 10 kids. Clearly, as a dad, I want to see him do the best he possibly can. And the more I hung on to, and not that I did this, I mean, I'm sure there were times where it was like, okay, I want to see my son do something good here. But um, the more I hung on to, I need to see him do something well, the more that dark energy kind of took over and anxiety and all those things. The more that on the flip side, the more that I put time and effort into the other 9 kids and my son too, obviously, but thinking about others, the more I was fulfilled, and obviously the more the kids got out of it, everyone got out of it. And I don't know how much there really was of me trying to push my son into um, just focusing on him. I know there were times, but it was short stints, short moments. But I know that I was absolutely happier, less anxiety, all those things when it was more about the team and the kids just having fun, right? And developing in those ways. So that's an easy example there of trying to help others instead of just about yourself the entire time. So to kind of sum all this up, I do think having competitive drive, having a chip on your shoulder, I've got it. Without a doubt, my guess is everyone, probably most people that are listening, probably have some type of chip on their shoulder, want to prove people wrong. I think you just have to realize what you've got, what's going on, make sure it's not controlling you. Because I think that's the other thing is, people talk about, OCD, alcoholics being addicted to something, right? I think at times, without a doubt, I've probably been addicted to, um, maybe proving people wrong and hanging on to those things. And my guess is there's probably a lot of people that can relate to that, right? Um, and I think the biggest thing is just self realization. What's going on? Why am I having these thoughts? Why is this driving me? And then can I use it for good? Can I set a goal that I want to achieve, set a date, and then kind of turn it on and off when needed, and not let it get in the way of relationships, friendships, your fulfillment, your happiness, all those things. So I'm not going to keep blabbing here. Hopefully that's helpful. I know it's helpful for me. This is, again, I've kind of talked about it. This is kind of my therapy session, talking to the camera. And hopefully you guys got something out of it. Obviously, reach out to me. You can comment on my YouTube page on the channel when this is dropped. You can comment on the video. We'll love to hear your thoughts. This is obviously a different show from talking about storage, which has been the majority of shows recently. But if you've made it this far on this show, definitely appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time.